Boy reporter John Machota is joining us from one of the last great American sports pages. All right, here we go. It's another crazy Cowboy camp. You got a guy named Lucky Whitehead who said, I didn't commit this petty larceny. I wasn't even there. And then we find out today he was released, and he wasn't there, according to his agent. So what is the story? Are they going to bring him back, or is he done?
No, he's done. They're not going to bring him back. And I actually just got off the phone with him. Very disappointed in the organization. If you go around their practice facility, there's a lot of signs around there. It talks about accountability and just being a good teammate in that, and he doesn't feel like the Cowboys held up their end of the bargain on this deal. He felt like he should have got a chance to kind of clear his name. He didn't when he found out about it. It was right after one of these practices yesterday, and within 2 hours he was let go. And so very, very disappointed in the Cowboys that they didn't give him a chance.
How surprised, John, were you that Jerry took a hyper-aggressive stance on defending Ezekiel Elliott? And we have an alleged domestic violence here, and we know how that's going to play in the NFL. And Jerry was hyper-aggressive defending him. Did that surprise you?
It did a little bit, just because of, like you mentioned, with domestic violence. It's just one of those topics right now that you really want to distance yourself from. And really, when he was asked about it the other day, Ezekiel Elliott, it wasn't really the domestic violence it was asked about as much as the recent bar altercation that he was involved in. So for Jerry to bring that up, it did surprise me a little bit. But at the other side of it is it's Jerry Jones, so you never really know for sure what he's going to say. But I think it's more than a domestic violence is what Ezekiel Elliott's facing. It's this culmination of all these things he's been dealing with off the field.
Cowboy fans will say you media guys are making a mountain out of a molehill. Is there deep concern within the organization, John, that Ezekiel Elliott is just really immature?
I think there's some, for sure. There is definitely some concern there. They will tell you that they did all their due diligence in the draft process, that they went back and went into everything that they could find from him, going all the way back to their Pop Warner days, all the way throughout his time at Ohio State. But there's clearly this pattern here over the last year where his name has been in the headlines for what he's done on the field, but just as much for what he's done off of it. So yeah, there's definitely concern there, and it kind of makes me wonder if, because of this and other instances that have happened with this team recently, if Lucky Whitehead wasn't just the fall guy for all of this.
Yeah. Compare the vibe this year. Does it feel like Dak Prescott's team today?
Without a doubt, 100%. And it actually surprises me how much it does. In just 365 days that this franchise, that Tony Romo was the quarterback for a decade, and just how fast everything moves forward. I guess that speaks a little bit to the NFL and how it really is just a young man's game. But midway through last season, I felt like he had won the locker room over, and I've seen nothing since then to think that it hasn't just escalated even more by the day. He's won over all the veterans, and when you see him out here, you can just tell that he's the leader of this team. And you can even get the sense, talking to Des Bryant yesterday, that they're getting tired of even being asked about Romo. They want to move forward. This is Dak's team, and they're ready to follow him. As surprising that is for a guy that was drafted in the 4th round just a year ago.
It is John Machota, Dallas Morning News, joining us from Oxnard, California, live at the Cowboys camp. They have one of the most difficult schedules, John, I've ever seen. In fact, I showed it earlier to my audience today that 12 of the 16 games, and we can put it up here on the screen, would qualify as the biggest game in the NFL. And we're talking big teams on the road. I think the NFC East is getting better. I think the Giants beat them twice last year. They've got to go to Denver. They got to go to Arizona. They face Seattle. They got to go to Oakland. Is it possible that this team could be really good, but that, John, they're not a playoff team based on the most rigorous schedule easily in the NFL? How do you think it plays out?
Oh, there's no question about that. They were very fortunate in the injury department that the biggest injury that they really had was Tony Romo going down, and you were able to replace him with this kid that you just can't expect that to happen all the time. They had Lyle Collins go down last year, and you had this Ron Leary come off the bench and play like one of the better starters in the league. And obviously with the money you got in free agency, it proves that. If they have a significant injury in a couple areas on this team, linebacker being one, tight end being another, there's not a lot of depth at some of those positions. So that, coupled with the fact that the Cowboys haven't had good back-to-back years since those Super Bowl years, and that's a long time ago. So you couple that that with the difficult schedule like you just mentioned, and they could be just as good as they were last year and only win maybe 8 or 9 games. I think that they'll be around a 10-win team. I don't think they'll win the division. I think that'll be the Giants, but I think they have a chance to be the wild card team, and if they're hot at the right time, then I think that they're as good as any team to make a run in the NFC.
And finally, John Machota, Cowboys beat writer, Dallas Morning News, live at Cowboys camp in Oxford. This is almost it's a weird question to ask because I think he's a good coach, but Jerry runs the franchise. Let's say the Cowboys go 9-7, don't make the playoffs. You know, Jerry's weird. He's a couple of great coaches, didn't work, and that he kept Chan Gailey longer than I would have kept him and Wade Phillips. How secure is Jason Garrett if they go at 9-7?
I think it's pretty secure considering the fact that, you're talking about a coach of the year before. 9-7, I don't think that would happen. And again, it goes back to the injuries. If this team stays relatively healthy and they only win 7 or 8 games, then that comes into question. I could see that being a possibility. I don't think it's 100% that no matter what happens this season, that he definitely has his job next year. He's had a lot of time with this organization, and they haven't been able to get back into the NFC Championship game again, something that they haven't done since those Super Bowl years. So as far as a guy that won Coach of the Year, I would say it's not as solid as you would think. But if there are the injuries in that and they can't overcome that, I think that'll be considered, and that might not be a factor. But, yeah, they have to win. They have to put together another big season like they did last year.
John Machota, great talking to you. Nice meeting you, and continued success. Thanks for joining us live.
Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Did you notice, Christine, that formidable Herd microphone?
I sure did. That's when you know it's official.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. You reporters out there, let's be honest. All these newspaper jobs are drying up. When we offer you that microphone, you better hold it with pride because it is a very prideful Herd microphone. It's very powerful. What are you looking at me for?
Because I like journalists. I like reading things sometimes. Like when I just don't want to listen anymore, sometimes I just want to read. I
am for reading too.
Just not.
I'm just saying, all you journalists
sports
out there, when the Cowherd microphone is in your presence, you just pick it up and start saying smart stuff.
Okay.
Because those jobs are drying up.
How did we get those? Those are new.
What's that? Those Herd microphones?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
They're just all over the country somehow.
We've had them. They've been literally. My former employer used to have these banners, and people used to rip them off. I wouldn't be surprised if people start ripping off Cowherd mic flags.
We should start selling them. Make a little extra profit.
That's a good call on that. No kidding.
By the way, you called it Oxford again.
It's Oxnard.
Yeah, we know that.
It's a tough day for you and words. It's
First
okay.
of all, burglary.
Yes.
Oxnard.
What do you call that? Like, what do you call this and like these?
What do you mean? Ears, nose, throat?
Like the things that you wear.
Jewelry.
Yeah, that's why you're having a problem.
I don't know. I think our salespeople could write better copy.
I'm sure they hear you right now.
Listen, here's another one they do. Listen to this one. Healthier alternative. You don't put those two words together. It's understood.
Healthier alternative.
Healthier alternative. Those are back to back. That's a nightmare for me.
Maybe they're just counting on you because you speak for your job.
By the way, I don't watch Game of Thrones at all.
Just so unfortunate. Why?
It doesn't interest me at all. I think it's generational. I'm not interested.
Generational?
Don't watch it.
I know people from all generations who watch it and love it.
Oh, do you watch it, Goulet?
No, I'm not into it.
He's in my generation, so it's clearly not generational.
I don't. Do you watch it, Greg?
I do watch it, yeah.
Is it great?
Fantastic, yeah.
Sharif
I'm with
watches
Christine.
it.
Is it? Yeah, but Sharif watches wrestling, so I mean.
True. I'll give you that.
I don't watch it. Listen, there's very few things that get me to a TV. Like I was telling this story yesterday. Tiger Woods is the most amazing athlete in my life because think about in Los Angeles where we live now, and New York does a lot of this too. You have like the movie business and the TV business and TV executives, and their job really is to create shows that change all of our viewing habits. So like we're sitting around and we think, hey, let's go to a TV. It's 8:00, or that's their job. Tiger Woods is the only athlete of my life that changed my viewing habits. Because I've always watched the NBA playoffs. I've always watched the NFL playoffs. I've always watched the World Series. I've always watched Wimbledon. Tiger Woods for 10 years did what television executives in this city are trying to do. Get me to a TV for something I wouldn't otherwise watch. At 4 o'clock on Sundays for a decade, it became natural. Oh, God, Tiger's on. Because I don't watch an entire golf tournament. I have a life, kids, a wife. But 4 o'clock on Sunday, which is the turn, that's when the golfers make the turn, for a decade, not a movie producer, not a director, not a movie star, not an actress, Tiger Woods got me to and the minute he was no longer relevant, I stopped at 4 o'clock watching golf tournaments. Michael Jordan didn't get me to a TV. I watched the NBA before Michael Jordan, and when he left, I still watched the NBA. The most amazing athlete, Tiger Woods, not only changed golf, he changed American consumption habits. The NBA today gets the same ratings it got with Jordan. It does. The NBA finals get the same basic number. MJ, LeBron. The NBA will have another LeBron, Kobe. We're not going to ever get another Tiger Woods. It's never going to happen. We're going to get a guy, like people talk about Jordan Spieth. Jordan Spieth he's a great golfer. He looks and sounds and talks and walks like every good golfer of my lifetime. Tiger was a movement. Tiger was Camblinasian. He had the military dad. He was on television shows at 3. He was winning the U.S. Open by a dozen strokes. He looked like Ed Reed. He was ripped. He threw clubs. He swore. He was like if John Daly was good. Like John Daly is like, that's what a public golfer looks like. He's drunk. He's smoking on the 8th hole. Like if John Daly would have been dominant, he would have been Tiger Woods. I mean, whenever I hear Tiger Woods stories, I always kind of go to defending the guy, like because there's never been an athlete in my life that changed my viewing habits like Tiger Woods. I don't even know what got me on this subject.
Yeah, well, you were talking about Game of Thrones, and that's right. Like, what does this have to do with Game of Thrones?
So Game of Thrones, the whole thing is it's moving people to Sunday night. Sopranos, the last TV show in America. Now, not counting sports, because I watch a lot, and not counting politics, because during the presidential election, I watch politics. I'm trying to think of the last show that I'm like, oh, I've got to get to a television set to watch.
Well, I can tell you one show that people do that with.
What's that?
American Ninja Warrior.
God.
Monday nights.
Nobody is watching that.
Your children are.
I know they are. My kids actually like it.
See?
No, but I would say Sopranos was that for me. It was Sunday at 9, and it literally, I would be like sitting there like, oh, I want to go to bed. Oh, Sopranos. And I would start thinking about it at 7, 8, 9. That is so rare. Like, that's why, like, Jordan Spieth won this weekend. And diehard golfers are like, oh, he's amazing. He's just one of the great guys. He's Rory McIlroy. He's Dustin Johnson. He is Jordan Spieth. He's part of a collective of really amazing young golfers. But he's not all-time stuff. I don't care how many tournaments he wins. He doesn't jump off the page. He's classy. He's talented. He's a good kid. He doesn't jump through the television set. Like, I don't turn it on and go, pow. When he's walking away from the camera, I can't tell who he is. Tiger Woods looked like a linebacker.
If you're acknowledging that Game of Thrones is changing the way people handle their Sunday nights, isn't it possible that so many people found a really good show that you should also give a try? Like, take a break from your aviation show for a night and just watch a little Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but here's my problem. I love my life. Mm-hmm. I like this show. I like my children. I like my wife. I like my life. Here's what I'm not into. Mm-hmm. Sorcerers and make-believe.
But that's only part of it. You still have, like, a love story, and there's family situations that you could relate to.
Make-believe characters and sorcerers.
Well, every character is make-believe if you look at it that way.
Snow zombies. I mean, it's just not the way I live.
You know, the snow can be like a zombie sometimes. Really a pain in the butt.
I'm not into that stuff. I like reality show. I read autobiographies. I don't read fiction.
Ever?
Not really interested in fiction. Life's much more interesting to me.
You watched Narcos.
Narcos was a true story about Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, but
it was played by actors
that you couldn't really relate to.
Oh, no. Drug lords, believe me. I know all about him. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
But that was a real story that was recreated. That's why I watch a lot of documentaries.
Maybe Game of Thrones is recreated.
Think
about it.
A nerd's head.
No, it's like really long time ago. Maybe this is what was going on in the world before we came along.
Yeah. There dragons.
Maybe there were dragons. There were dinosaurs.
Zombies. I just can't get into it. So you watch it every week?
I love Game of Thrones.
Oh, God.
A lot of people do, especially in this business.
People don't even DVR it. Like they're so excited to see it.
Oh, no, we watch it when it comes out.
They watch it live because they just don't want to miss it.
Hey.
I literally got, you can do this illegal thing where you get a VPN in Europe. I got it to watch 3 things: OJ, Power, and Game of Thrones.